Tonight on Huckabee, the president called 2014 a year of action.
President Obama is doing so without Congress being involved.
But 2014 is also the year of the midterm elections.
We don't have 218 votes. And when you don't have 218 votes, you have nothing.
Can the GOP address the issues that matter most to Americans, like jobs, spending, Obamacare?
We will have no chance of stopping Obama for 2 more years if we don't take more seats in the House, if we don't win the Senate.
Republicans can't win just because the Democrats fumble the ball. They've got to pick it up and carry it to the goal line.
Tonight, a Huckabee special. How can the Republican Party win? Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Mike Huckabee.
Great audience here in the studio, and welcome to Huckabee from the Fox News studios in New York City. Tonight, we're going to focus on answering the question, how can the Republicans win? Now, in case that sounds like a very partisan approach, then let me be upfront and honest. It is. Look, I never pretend I'm objective or unbiased. My show welcomes views that aren't mine, but I hardly hide my own political leanings. I clearly believe that America would be better off if Republicans took control of the Senate this year, added to their numbers in the House, and took the White House in 2016. Now, that's not just to change the labels, but that's to change the direction of this great but struggling republic. We're suffering under an inexperienced executive leader who's proving that a background in being a community organizer helps him do what community organizers do: agitate, disrupt, and wreak havoc in the social and political order of society. But it's not the same as governing. His power grabs in health care, energy, foreign policy, taxes, immigration, and even determining which public monuments to close are mind-numbing. But while he treats the country as his personal kingdom over which he has authoritarian control, he takes no responsibility whatsoever for the disastrous failures of his priorities or his failed policies. None. It's always someone else's fault. George W. Bush's fault, the House Republicans, the Tea Party, always somebody else. Well, Republicans must unite and present a strong and unified effort to stand for personal freedom and responsibility, good jobs, less big government and more local and limited government, lower taxes, and a country where mothers and fathers raise their kids instead of letting the government do it. Because if we don't, we could see Speaker Pelosi take the podium, and more years of Harry the Contrary Reid. The Democrats have learned how to keep their disagreements behind closed doors. Our folks on the Republican side spend more time and money fighting within the family than taking on the liberals. There are real issues, and some aren't easily agreed on, even among conservatives. But are differences among conservatives as big as differences that we have with the far-left loons who are in control of our government right now? Well, some of the topics that we're going to cover are Obamacare, out-of-control spending, diversity in the Republican Party, immigration reform, and social issues. I'm going to be joined by a panel of Republicans throughout the hour, and we're going to take a real good look at some of the Facebook and Twitter questions and the comments that we ask you to send us along with your concerns. Later in the hour, we're going to be joined by RNC Chairman Reince Priebus and get his input on how Republicans can win. Right now, let me introduce our panel. Joining us are Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Reverend Sammy Rodriguez, President of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, and one of America's most influential Latino and evangelical leaders. Crystal Wright is with us, editor of ConservativeBlackChick.com. And David Webb, host of Sirius XM Patriot Radio, founder of Tea Party 365, and a Fox News contributor. Great to have all of you guys here. It's going to be kind of fun. I want to start off with immigration. So, Sammy, I'll turn to you on this one. House Republicans have decided they're not going to take this issue up this year. I think a lot of people felt a little bit of a relief that it wasn't going to be this contentious battle. What do Republicans need to put on the table in the way of immigration reform that is not only effective to deal with the issue, because that's really the first reason, but then how to deal with it in a way that will be politically effective and not to do political suicide?
Right. Well, Governor, first, today's complacency is tomorrow's captivity. The Republican Party must cross the Jordan of immigration reform. I'm a preacher now, so sorry.
Preach on, brother. We'll pass the plate, but I get the money.
Okay. Hallelujah. The Republican Party must cross the Jordan of immigration reform if it's ever to step into the promised land of the Hispanic American electorate. And by not addressing immigration reform this year, it further alienates not only the Hispanic electorate, but the majority of people, according to a Fox News poll, the majority of people that carry Bibles, that wear badges, and run businesses. And what we need is not amnesty. Amnesty is not an option.
So that's not something that the Hispanic community is clamoring for, because that's the perception, is that, well, you got to have amnesty or you're going to make them mad.
No, why should we grant amnesty to people that stepped into this nation illegally? Amnesty is not an option. What we're looking for is an immigration reform system that secures the borders, and we have technology to secure the borders, by the way. If we can read the license plate thousands of miles away in the back hills of Afghanistan, we can detect who's crossing the Rio Grande, you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have the technology, the wherewithal. It's a matter of securing the border, stopping all illegal immigration, but providing a pathway for integration for those that are currently here. Those that are not depending on government entitlements, those that are self-sustaining, that resonate with our value system. These individuals, the majority of immigrants, really are in this nation to bless this nation, not to curse it. But not addressing immigration reform is going to further alienate an electorate and a demographic that resonates with conservative values on different levels.
How would it look, though, to have a way to deal with the 11 million or whatever the number is? Because I don't know that any of us really know.
Right.
What do we do with those folks who are already here?
Integration. There has to be a pathway for integration. First thing you do is you do not give them an expedited pathway to citizenship. Absolutely not. It's not fair for those that are coming into this nation legally, for those that have been here illegally, to go to the front of the line. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, that's morally reprehensible. They should go to the back of the line, get a guest worker visa. And the idea that 11 million people want to become U.S. citizens, that's a misnomer. Many of them just want to work here, go back to Mexico or El Salvador or their country of origin, come back and seasonally work here according to the needs of the various sectors of our economy. So let's provide a guest worker visa that may lead to permanent residency. And down the road, if they want to apply for citizenship, let them go to the back of the line, demonstrate proficiency in the English vernacular, pay fines, admit they came here illegally, and enjoy a caramel macchiato from somewhere.
Congresswoman, that proposal that Sammy has just talked about, the House has decided they're not even going to touch it this year, at least so far. Is what he's talking about realistic? Is that doable within the House as we know it today?
Governor, you know what? Some of the conservatives in the House have had an incremental process offered since 2003, securing the borders first, dealing with those that are the criminal illegal entrants, having ICE clean up the entrance and exit program so that we know who is here. When they have a visa, they leave when that visa expires. And then finding some components where you're dealing with legalization, not amnesty, not citizenship, but dealing with legalization. And doing that in an orderly process is what the American people want to see.
Do you think it'll happen more likely by pieces rather than an overall comprehensive?
Yes.
And I guess I'm curious, is comprehensive necessary? Is that the ideal? Because I think a lot of us just don't trust the process of Congress as long as the Democrats are in charge of the Senate, that they're going to butcher it up some way, even if it got there.
Well, and I think what the Congresswoman has said really makes the most sense. Americans want enforcement, and I have a problem with us calling it immigration reform because it's really about enforcement. We have immigration laws on our books, but we have a president who has instructed his Justice Department to ignore those laws. So what he said is if somebody catches an illegal immigrant here and they don't have a criminal record, they're supposed to be allowed to continue to stay and work in the country. So I think for Republicans, I like the approach the House wants to take, as the Congresswoman said, incremental, focusing on enforcement. But I really don't see us passing any kind of big sweeping bill coming out of the House. I mean, we already know what happened in the Senate. But more importantly, the way Republicans can win the Hispanic vote and the black vote and everybody else is talking about immigration abiding by our laws. Everybody wants us to be a law-abiding country. It doesn't matter what color skin you are. And I think that if we can talk about the immigration problem with that tone, guess what? We're going to do very well in 2016.
First of all,
real quickly, because we got to move on to the segment.
We tend to put together that we can do immigration and get the Hispanic vote. You want to get people's vote as a party? Pro-growth policies. What is good for this nation? There are two separate things. There is no guarantee of the Hispanic vote if you do immigration, and that's something we need to separate as we deal with the issues in this country.
We're going to have to move on. Gosh, I wish we had more time. We could do the whole show on immigration. We really could. J.R. Gillespie writes this. He says, run government like a household. Don't borrow money for anything that's not needed. What's being done to rein in spending? Well, what is being done? We'll talk about it next and see if anything's being done. Stay with us.